The following is a paid advertisement of St. Anthony Hospital Orthopedics. References to any specific product, services, or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by St. Anthony Hospital, Carroll Broadcasting, or its advertisers. The views expressed by the host or guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Welcome to the St. Anthony Hospital Orthopedic Show with Dr. Richard Godding. Dr. Godding specializes in joint preservation, reconstruction, and replacement surgery, and brings over 25 years of orthopedic excellence to St. Anthony Hospital and to the Carroll area. For more information about Dr. Godding, his practice, or St. Anthony Orthopedics, go to santanthonyhospital.org or make an appointment by calling 712-794-5536.
Good Sunday morning, Iowa. It's Dr. Rick Godding. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with me here today. So, it's funny, if you've listened to the show for a while, you know I have these two Vizslas that we bought coming up on 4 years ago now. They were purely COVID dogs, but my kids have been asking for dogs since they were born. And we didn't know at this point what in the world was going to go on with COVID. I mean, everything was shut down. I wasn't operating. There was, this was back when they had canceled all elective surgeries. I mean, everything was crazy. We had gone up to Steamboat, and we got to Steamboat on, I believe it was Saturday. We flew out, rented a car in Denver, and got to Steamboat, and we made 2 runs. And then they closed the mountain, which was like, that was for us, like oh my gosh, this is real super serious. So we talked and we decided to get these dogs, and we got Vizslas, which are, as reputation wise, wonderful bird dogs. My dogs didn't get the message. They're not really, we tried to get them trained up a little bit. I mean, the first time we went out, they were both pointing like crazy and flushing, but they weren't going to go get the bird. But the second time we went out, it was really cold, and my older dog kept walking between my legs. I thought, well, man, he's just cold. And I realized now that he was scared. And then by the third time, as soon as the guns went up and shot, they were under the truck. So that ended that. But they've been very lovely companions. But my girl dog has a habit of, she used to kill animals in the backyard, squirrels or rabbits, and would present them onto the carpet for my wife to admire. And so last time she did that, we scolded her a lot, and she literally went over in the corner and just looked up at us, just not really pouting, but clearly hurt feelings for 2 hours. So the other morning, I don't know if it was one of the mornings this weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, I got up real early and went out, and she was sitting by the back door and wanting to go out, and I thought she had to go to the bathroom. So I put my hand on the handle, and then I recognized that there was a dead squirrel that clearly didn't die of a heart attack and drop right out our back door. And so I think she really wanted to bring it in, and then thought better and didn't, but still was interested in going back to just kind of funny stuff. These, the dogs have been a wonderful, wonderful addition to my kids' childhood. And I think, it's nice for kids to grow up with a dog. And I think, COVID was tough on the kids. There was just a lot going on, and, just all of it. It was tough. And so we're glad we got them, and they are lovely companions, and that's just about it. So, and, we're trying to, we always have to put them in boarding when we leave, and we're trying to figure out some time to get down to Oklahoma this summer and see my mom and my grandma, so that they don't have to wait all the way till Thanksgiving. But, yeah, the dogs, they definitely change the family dynamic in a lot of ways, and they make it, they make you plan things a lot more. It's a lot tougher to do things. It's a lot tougher to even just leave the house. We can leave them for a couple hours, but any longer than that, and we start to get a little bit nervous. So today I wanted to talk orthopedics wise. I wanted to talk about, if you really want to see how the Mako robot works, you can go on YouTube and look at Mako Total Knee or Mako Total Hip. But I'm going to explain it because there's just, nowadays I think it gets confusing. And I think that the difference between the Mako robot and all of the other robots is just so striking, as evidenced by the fact that it costs 3 times more than the other robots. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about how it works and then why I chose it back when I first got here 4 years ago to St. Anthony's. I was looking to, build an orthopedic program, and I said, well, one of the key things we could do that will help us to differentiate ourselves is we can get this Mako robot. And so the Mako robot is made by, or was purchased by Stryker, and Stryker is the joint company that now is associated with the Mako robot. And of course, they're not going to allow that robot to put in other joints because that's a business decision, right? So luckily, the Stryker hip and knee systems are both excellent for replacements. And again, I don't do hips anymore because my young partner is doing them anteriorly and robotically, which is a pretty rare thing and is just an amazing difference in how quickly the patients recover. And so I'm using it only for knees, but I've done some total hips on it, and I can tell you, how it works and so what it does. So what we do is pretty much every other platform robotically is going to work off of an X-ray. And so there's just dramatically less information just to start with. So with the Mako, we do a 3D CT scan. And so there's a complete 3D model picture inside the machine before we start the case. Then we drill, if we're doing the hip, drill a couple of holes in the pelvis and put a reflector that reflects an infrared ray back to the robot, and then another one on the femur, and those will tell exactly where those bones are in space. And then you get a bunch of little data points. So there's a thing that's a little bit, it looks like a long pen, and you put it on multiple different areas, and then you hit the button and it locks in that data point of information as far as where everything is in space. So you get a ton of data points on the acetabulum, so the socket on the hip. And then you do, on the knee, you get both on the femur side, the thigh bone side, and the tibia side, the shin bone side. And you're getting lots and lots and lots of different little data points that are showing up directly on the computer screen. Like you'll put it where it's supposed to be, and then you'll hit the button and it'll lock that data point in. So you're basically painting the surface of the joint with electronic signal paint so that the robot can follow it exactly where it's supposed to be. So then in the hip, once you get all those, you put the socket exactly where you want it on the screen, and then the robot arm comes in and it will ream the socket out. So we ream the cartilage off so that it's got bone that's touching the metal socket that you're going to put in. And then that's done with the robot arm. So it's not possible for the robot arm to not be where you planned it. Now, you could plan it wrong, but you're looking right at it in 3D, so you just get an excellent plan. And then the robot arm is there, and then I press the button and it spins the reamer. And then we take that out and then bring in the cup, the actual socket cup that's going to go in, the metal one, and the robot arm sticks it exactly where it's supposed to be in every plane, and then you'll hammer the back of it so it presses in and fits in like that circumferentially within the socket. And then I never used, and I'm fairly certain Dr. Dirks doesn't use the robot on the femur side, and that's just, I don't think you really need to, because, I mean, the cut is pretty straightforward. You're just looking right at it and you're cutting the neck. And then once you get the stem in, the ball on the ball side, so you put the ball back in the socket, and then you can measure to the millimeter how different the leg length is, so you can control your leg length. And that's one of the things that you have to be vigilant about controlling in a in a hip replacement. Not so much in a knee. It's pretty hard to change the length of a leg by doing a knee replacement. And just because of the dynamics of how you actually have to do it. I mean, you take out a centimeter, you put a centimeter back in, but on the hip, you could definitely go up or down a fair amount. Depends on, it's just a different joint. So that's how we use it on the hip. And on the knee, this is the one that, of course, I do lots of knees. And so we do the same thing. So you put the reflectors in the bone on the femur side, which is the thigh bone, and then the shin side, the tibia side. And then you have this 3D exact perfect picture of it. And then when you get that perfect picture, then you're going to put the ligaments where you want them. You're going to stretch until the ligaments are balanced exactly like you want them. Lock that in. You lock that in to the robot. So the robot then says, okay, in order to have the ligaments at this length and this tension, we'll cut here. And so that cut is locked into its brain, into the robot computer. Then the robot arm comes in, and I press the button to start the saw, but the saw is on the end of the robot arm. And so it allows you to cut exactly how you planned. And it has a thing called haptics. And this prevents you from going places you're not really supposed to go. Like you can't go too far back in the back of the knee where the dangerous stuff is. It just will not let you push that saw blade back there, so that there is that safety part of it. But mostly it's just executing and planning the procedure exactly how you want it. And that's really what it allows you to do. And the difference between the Mako and all the others, number one, the Mako has the standard saw blade on it, and that's how you cut. You cut it just like we always have cut. Some of the other ones have a burr on it, and the reason that they have a burr instead of a saw is because Mako has the patent on the robot arm with the saw on it. I don't know how long that's going to last, but for right now, they don't have a saw on the end of any of the other robotic systems. But again, some of them aren't even really robotic. They're more like a navigation, because there is no robot arm. If someone's going to tell you they're going to do robotic surgery, you ask is there a robotic arm, or are you just kind of calling this a robot, and it's really just a piece in your hand that has a guidance on it. And, it's just little nuances that are different, but I think they make a difference. And the other is some of the robots that people have purchased don't do total hip replacements. And when they do, again, it's more of just guiding instead of putting it exactly where it's supposed to be. It's guiding you and having you put it. I know it's a subtle difference, but the robot arm actually puts it right where it's supposed to be. And the other is more of a navigation, so it just kind of tells you where you should go with your own hand instead of forcing you to be where you've made your plan to be. And so I think it makes a difference. And I think like I said, since I started doing that, which is 4 years ago now when I got here, it's just made such a dramatic difference in, every x-ray comes out and looks perfect, or real close to perfect after the case. And so there are really no real outliers. Like there used to be, well, that's off by 3 or 4 degrees. And usually patients would do fine, but you just wouldn't like it, because if you're a surgeon, you want to be exact and you really want to get things exactly how you planned. I mean, it's just harder to do without the robot. There's just a lot more art to it, and the robot makes it more science to the operation itself. A total knee with the standard mechanical jigs that you're just lining up. It's just, like I said, there's just a lot more art to it. And so, the other differences are probably so technical that it would be difficult to explain them, but those are kind of the big ones. We're working off of a 3D CT scan instead of an X-ray, and that really gets us a really more complete view of the anatomy of what we're working on, whether it be the knee or the hip. And it just really allows you to plan in actual real time in 3D at the time of surgery, knowing every little data point of where the bone is in space, because you've attached these sensors and then you've taken all these data points and sort of painted the where everything is in space, and then because those things are the reflectors are reflecting back, you can't really lose your spot, if that makes sense. So it's just perfectly exactly known what you're going to do, where you're going to do it, and it's how you planned it, and it keeps you from going off into areas where you shouldn't. So those are kind of the big differences, and that's why I think that the Mako has been, in my practice, it's been the biggest change of anything that I've seen in my whole practice, is going from a non-robotic to a robotic knee replacement. And it just makes all the difference in the world. And people ask, well, do you do this in a rotator cuff? So you don't do it in a rotator cuff because there just wouldn't be an application. I mean, a rotator cuff's just such a different operation. We can talk about that on a different day, but there just wouldn't be an application. For shoulder arthritis, for a shoulder replacement, they are supposed to be coming out with an application. I prefer a different brand of shoulder. I use the Arthrosurface resurfacing rather than the stemmed total shoulder that that Stryker has, who has the Mako robot, but the application's not out anyway. So the answer is no. We don't use the robot on anything in orthopedics. This Mako robot we only use for total knees and partial knees, total knees, partial knees, and total hips. And it, like I said, it's made such a great difference, and it continues to, and we're just really happy to have it, and really happy to have Dr. Dirks here doing knees and hips with it, and me doing knees with it, and yeah, so just kind of wanted to go over that a little bit. It's every week when I do my knees, I'm just thankful once again to the administration for purchasing that when I first got here, because it makes such a difference for the patients. And I just think that there's more and more data showing that the outcomes are better as well. So very good. I hope everybody's enjoying the summer, and I'll be back next week. So you have a blessed week, Iowa.
This has been the St. Anthony Hospital Orthopedic Show with Dr. Richard Godding. For more information about Dr. Godding, his practice, or St. Anthony Hospital Orthopedics, go to www.santanthonyhospital.org or make an appointment by calling 712-794-5536.